Welcome back to another high-level match of StarCraft 2. What I've got for you today is a best-of-3 series of Terran versus Zerg, where in game number 1 we find ourselves on the map Heartlet. Now spawning here in the top left-hand corner, playing with the blue Terran, playing with the red Terran SCVs. We're looking inside of the main base of the World Champion of StarCraft 2. He's from China, and he goes by the name of Oliveira. Today though, his opponent, playing with the blue Zerg drones, we have the man who I think I can call him the greatest tournament player of all time. We're having a look at none other than Serral's main hatchery. At the very least, many consider this man to be the greatest StarCraft 2 player ever because, well, he doesn't really lose. Especially in this particular matchup, Serral has looked nearly unstoppable since about 2018 or so. Now, they did quite literally try to balance the game around Serral. I've actually had this thought experiment for a little while now in my head. I just like to play games, apparently, when I'm not playing games with myself, where I'm just thinking about how much one individual player is capable of getting an entire StarCraft race nerfed. So I think it's common knowledge that Bjorn has been the main reason why the Reaper got nerfed a couple of times. How many of the nerfs to Zerg that we have seen over the last 5 years have been due to Serral? In other words, if Serral never picked up StarCraft 2 back in the day, right? I think he started playing because of his brother or something. Imagine Serral's brother never played StarCraft 2 and therefore Serral never played StarCraft 2. Where would Zerg be in 2023? Do you think it would have gotten nerfed as many times over the last 5 years that it has been? I mean, all of the nerfs, I mean, they are relatively small in isolation, but everything combined? I think actually the Queen, at the very least, would still be able to transfuse off creep. It would probably still have one additional anti-air range. I think overall, Zerg would probably be a little bit stronger than where it is currently at. Either way, this should be a really interesting match. I apparently have had these replays for about a week now, and for some reason I didn't see that it was part of the replay pack that the WTL sent over. So I've been sitting on Serral versus Oliveira for a while. As a matter of fact, like 10 minutes ago, I was going through all my replays folders over the last couple of weeks. I was like, hey, what do I want to cast? There was like a DRG versus Cure game. I think I had like Solar versus Beyond. I was like, yeah, Zerg versus Terran would be fun. And then I realized we have the freaking World Champion of StarCraft 2 facing off against Serral, and I didn't cast those games yet. I don't even know who ends up winning this, so I'm excited for it. We'll find out together. 16 hatch opener, by the way, here from Serral, which is kind of interesting. He did pull all of the drones out of gas, and he did go for a quick third hatchery here on the low ground as well. Forced to morph in a drone into a spore crawler, but nothing all too crazy. So far, this Reaper, it didn't really deal any critical damage, but it has been scouting, right? So he's looking around right now. He wants to see if maybe there's a third hatchery taken, and it looks like, yes, indeed, there is a third hatchery taken, but not in the location that Oliveira scouted first. That being said, it really shouldn't matter all that much. We've got ourselves a starport coming up, so after the command center on the low ground, we've decided to go straight into a 1-1-1, so that's one barracks, one factory, and then one starport, and now into double cyclone production. Alright, interesting. This could certainly mean that he wants to double down on mech. It could also mean that he wants to add on additional barracks here in just a moment. But this certainly means, though, that he does not have a very quick third command center. So he's gonna need to definitely build one of those things very soon, because otherwise he's gonna start falling behind economically. He's planning on dealing damage on the other side of the map, I guess, and then, well, hopefully that will make up for the delay on the third command center. But with this particular start as Terran, you're almost forced to deal some sort of damage. Serral, however, is one of those players, one of the very few, who rarely takes damage in the earlier stages of the game. He's very good at defending against whatever the Terran is going to throw at him. So if Serral does not end up losing any drones to this aggression that is imminent, I've got a feeling that this is going to be an uphill battle right here for Oliveira. But only time will tell. This is an interesting combination of units, though. So we have 2 Cyclones, 1 Marine, 2 Hellions now. One of them apparently is not with this army yet, but I'm assuming, there it is, it will start joining in the fray as well, and then a Liberator or 2. Yeah. Okay. So Serral's gonna scout this. There's the third CC at the front. We did not quite get a glimpse of that one just yet, but this is a bit of an old school build order right now from Oliveira, where he is basically just throwing whatever combination of units he's got at the opponent. Alright, so the SCV scout right there confirmed the timing of the third base. How much damage can Oliveira deal over here? Because he's already 10 workers behind. We've got 7 queens. We've got 10 more links coming up. 1 overlord there ends up getting sniped on the creep. I think we saw another overlord going down on the other side of the map. Lairs coming up right now here for the finisher. There's the Baneling Nest as well. Liberator in the back. Instant pull on the drones. No worker damage done just yet. And this is what I'm talking about, man. It's so crisp. Yeah, we'll probably have to pull the drones a second time. So that is 1 worker worth of damage. Zerglings are already thinking about setting up a wraparound over here or maybe a counterattack. 13 drones here. Over the last couple seconds. Ooh, hold that thought actually. He does not have vision of the watchtower. I would have loved to see these units parked at the watchtower. Serral's gonna try and jump this. Okay, good movement right there by Oliveira. He is gonna be able to at least get rid of some of these links, but yeah, this is not the start you're really looking for. The Liberators over here in total have just gotten 1 kill. Maybe this bad boy can double that number. Okay, good job. You did it. Well done. But that is still nothing to write home about. Obviously, a little bit of lost mining time as well. But Serral was literally droning during all of that. Queen is gonna take a hit. If the Liberator ends up going... if the Liberator ends up... this is a good example of what I'm talking about, man. That Liberator falls here. The 3 drones are completely irrelevant. 13 Zerglings as well, only for a single Hellion, so at least that dance against this army was better. But what Serral did achieve is bruise these Hellions, and that ultimately means they can't really commit to a proper attack anymore. Now, maybe getting a council on this base would be nice. Yeah, the Cyclone lock-on range is not quite the same as it used to be, and Oliveira does not want to commit all too far. As a matter of fact, we already had a backup base over here as well at the 3 o'clock position. I think going straight 1-1-1 against Serral off of 2 command center is just a very mediocre way of playing. I mean, rarely do we see him taking damage in the earlier stages of the game, and in this particular instance, he was even droning. We don't have really a lot of control over the creep spread anymore either, and this is one of those games where if you're not careful, Serral's gonna max out in like 2 minutes. Okay, maybe that's a bit of an exaggeration, but this is one of those scenarios where he has basically been unharmed, and now you have to play the macro game from behind. 1-1 is gonna finish up here in about, I wanna say, half a minute from now. Combat shields, right around the same time. Stimpack is already finished. Zerglings, managed to run over here inside of the natural expansion. You're not permitted to make mistakes against players like Serral. It's just not an option. Now this little bit of a timing attack turns into a complete all-in. Baneling speed is done, however, here for the finisher. And keep in mind, this base, yeah, there's a backup base on the right side of the map. Those drones can find a new mineral line easy peasy. We're gonna lose a little bit of mining time, but that's really about it. Killing this hatchery certainly does not justify losing 15 SCVs, and I think a siege tank or 2 as well at home for. Now we have more SCVs over here in trouble as well. Oh, there's some Banelings. The SCVs are so clumped up at this point. There is a mineral wall over here as well as obviously the supply depots. My god. We have some burrow mixed in as well because apparently we didn't quite have enough APM spent just yet. Yeah, Serral all over Oliveira here in game number 1. The macro has been solid though. Oliveira doing an excellent job spending his money. Problem is at this point his money is not really coming in. Another siege tank is gonna bite the dust over here as well. Now we're forced to do a big fight on creep. There's Banelings over here on the right side as well. Queen's at the front, trying to just stay alive for as long as possible. Zerglings swoop in from the back, swoop in from the front as well. And Serral absolutely dominates the world champion here in game number 1. That wasn't even close. Okay. Game number 2. We find ourselves on the map El Sayani. I think we're gonna have to change the strategy a little bit there, Oliveira. Just making a random set of units and hoping that the opponent is not prepared does not sound like the greatest threat. I wouldn't mind seeing him, for example, go for like a triple Reaper start. Although Serral has recently been quite fond of that 15 hatchery opener, and that seems to be a pretty good start against that particular style, but a bunch of Reapers in the earlier stages of the game would not be a bad idea. Interestingly enough, though, Serral now goes 16 hatch. 2 games in a row. Okay. So that ultimately would make that Reaper start once again a little bit better. We're gonna see, I think, probably like 1 Reaper or so. That would not be all too strange, but yeah. No more 15 hatch, apparently, at least in this match here so far. I think the best way as Terran to face off against somebody like Serral is to open up straight triple command center. You can even try and maybe play a bit of a trick on your opponent, because Serral basically opens up the same way, roughly, right? Obviously, there's some variations, but he plays very defensively early on, and you can definitely... I think you can probably do some cheeky builds, man. Something like a command center first into a quick third CC as well after, for example, the barracks. Those are builds we have seen before in the past, and those are the types of things that Serral can be caught off guard with. I feel like if you're gonna catch him off guard, you're not gonna do it with aggression, but you're gonna do it with almost like an economy cheese instead. Alternatively, if you want to play a solid, straightforward macro game, I think the best way to do it is to go barracks command center, factory command center, and then a starport. I think that will probably work out a bit better. So a triple CC before the starport. So here's the factory. We should see a reactor here momentarily. And then I'm hoping a third CC on the back of this instead. And judging by the gas, I think that that is not a bad choice. Now, it's not a Reaper first. It's going to be a Marine first here instead. So this Overlord is desperately trying to fly into a spot where it will be safe. Zerglings are only about halfway done. There's the link speed started. But yeah, that Marine not brave enough to try and get to the low ground. Probably have the Overlord disappear on this pillar anyways, and then still lose the Marine against, well, the Zerglings too. That would be suboptimal to say the least. So, are we gonna go for a third command center, Oliveira? I think right now would be the time. Well, right about right now. Yeah, there we go. Okay, I think this is much better. So the difference here is that now, effectively, the timing of the starport and the third command center has been flipped. And the advantage here is that you're still safe against any sort of early game shenanigans from the Zerg. Say it's like a Ravager rush, you can usually still get, for example, a Banshee out against this sort of thing. Maybe Cyclones are a good choice against it too, I'm not exactly sure. But then you're not really forced to deal damage on the other side of the map. With a triple command center opener, any damage you deal on the other side of the map as Terran is like a bonus, you know? It's like a nice little addition. You're not really forcing yourself to deal damage to be able to face against that Zerg economy head on. Now, it's still going to be a lot of Cyclones, which is interesting. No starport yet at all. Where are we going to be spending our next 100 gas? Because obviously, we've only been on a single refinery here for the majority of the game. Okay, it's gonna be for Stimpec. So this is technically a little bit risky, though. I'm not exactly sure. Say it's like a 3.5-minute Roach Warren here for Serral, which it is not. But say you wanted to go for like a Roach Rush. How good is this particular start with triple CC against a Roach Ravager Ling all in? Hello, you're on the wrong side, buddy. Okay. I don't think it would be great. Aliens are gonna be a necessity. Okay, this is excellent right here for Oliveira. Much better start. Obviously, that being said, it's not like Serral has really been hindered here. Pushing that creep forward. Going into the third base. Inject? Ooh, we're missing an inject here. 12 seconds? 13-second delay right there on that queen inject. Ay, 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 ay. Although, to be fair, that's a lot more of a forgivable mistake for Zerg early on. Like, if push comes to shove, and I know this is one of the frustrations for Terran and Protoss players primarily, but say you really mess up as Zerg in the earlier stages of the game and you like miss 1 or 2 of your queen injects, you could always just make more queens. Like say you suddenly find yourself sitting at like 300 minerals, just make a couple queens. Rarely has there been a game where a Zerg player is like, dang it, I shouldn't have made those 2 extra queens, that was a disaster. I mean, obviously it's not optimal, but I don't think it's as big of a problem for Zerg to be a little oversupply as it is for Terran and for Protoss in the earlier stages of the game. All right, double upgrades on the back of this too. So this is a pretty greedy opener here from Oliveira. Yeah. He's gonna be able to get rid of this Overlord here. He's gonna be able to go double upgrades here immediately as well. We're gonna see the upgrades here for the bio units momentarily. I mean, we already have Stimpec. I would assume here we're gonna be seeing the combat shields. There it is. So this now all leads towards a banger of an attack here for Oliveira. It is gonna hit much harder than the attack in the previous game, and the question is, will Serral be prepared for it? Well, Serral seems to be reading his opponent reasonably well. He's obviously dealing with very limited amounts of scouting information, but he has been looking around on the other side of the map and he knows roughly what it is he needs to prepare for. The main upgrade that Zerg players are looking for at this stage in the game is the Baneling speed upgrade. So Baneling speed is absolutely critical, even though it's nerfed, so you no longer get +5 hit points, and obviously the units don't deal as much damage against light armies anymore, like for example Marines, Hellions, and all the rest of it. It is still absolutely critical that you, do get that Baneling speed rolling fast. Unless you want to go for a Roach Ravager based army, I don't think you really have much of a choice. Upgrades right now, though, heavily in favor of the Terran, as 1-1 is already like 80% of the way done. Economically speaking, this is a much easier game to play for Oliveira because he didn't really need to deal damage, but we're getting now to the point, you can see this reflected in the income graph as well. We're getting to the point where the Zerg does need to be shut down. And that's exactly what we're looking for right now. You need to deal some sort of economical damage. There's a lot of Terran armies still sitting at home. Just killing this hatch over here would not really be the end of the world. 15 seconds on centrifugal hooks, but he's very deep onto creep. I don't like this movement here very much from Oliveira. Okay, well, good stutter stepping. Ultimately, though, I've got a feeling that the Zerg reinforcements will be able to push this back. That was a very interesting little move. Serral's like, yo, you're gonna go deep on creep? Maybe. That was a very strange engagement there from Oliveira. Not tiptoeing around it at all. It kind of seemed to me like he wanted to hug Banelings, which does not sound great to me. He does get the kill right there on the hatch eventually. 44 Zerglings. I mean, that was actually a banger of a fight. Hold up, I'm gonna go back. That fight was weird. I'm gonna go all the way back. Yeah, I'm gonna go back to this point. So I think this is when the medevacs go across the map. So rather than like trying to tiptoe at the perimeter of creep, which is what we normally see, there's no siege tanks or anything in the mix over here. We just dive in between the mineral fields as well as that hatchery. Sorry, we're doing a live picture-in-picture type of thing, except I am not editing it, so it's one of the cursed picture-in-picture. Yeah, so we're gonna go over there, and then we're trying to just line those Hellions up to do as much damage as possible. Imagine if centrifugal hooks, though, was 5 seconds earlier here, right? If the Banelings suddenly got their roly-poly upgrade in the middle of that engagement, I think Oliveira would have lost all of these units and then not gotten the hatchery here. There's no way that he can know the exact timing of the Baneling speed upgrade, so works out over here for him, but that did seem a little bit risky. Armory, not optimally timed, but we are going to be able to go into the 2-2 research. Boom, 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 boom. We need the second boom. There it is. Okay. Lovely work. Hive coming up right now for Serral. He does still have the 4th base over here at the bottom, and he's still sitting at 77 workers, but I think he also was scratching his head a little bit, because that fight really did not look good for Terran at all, but somehow he did come out ahead, and he ended up killing that hatchery over there as well. Once again, deep onto creep, but this time around, ooh, well, there was room in the plane for everybody. Actually, no, there wasn't. Jimmy over here in one of those medevacs apparently took up too much of a seat, lying down over there and not really allowing that Cyclone to then also get in. Giga Chat Jimmy is how he's known in the Terran Dominion. Alright. Good situation right here for Oliveira. I wouldn't call this an overwhelming advantage by any stretch. Maybe if he started up the 2-2 right at the perfect time, it would have been a little bit nicer for him overall, but yeah, you can see it reflected right now in the supply count here, right? Still, he needs to be careful though. He cannot really take another fight like that, because that fight really was a bit of a gamble. The creep spread has been really good here by Serral, so yeah, we have the Adrenal Glands upgrade coming up. Siege tanks? Oh god, when are you gonna siege them, dude? So late. Creep is gonna take about half a minute or so before it starts disappearing, so if Serral wants to jump this, he does have squads of units set up in all kinds of areas. Right now might still be an opportunity. Instead, he's gonna use these Lings and Banes here to pick up a reinforcing Marine, and yeah, we are gonna collapse on top of this. Okay, I was gonna say, this looks like prime real estate on the map. The creep is still not entirely gone. Oliveira staying out there for just a little bit too long. I think if this attack would have been with 2-2, it would have looked entirely different. Anyways, we are going to be moving forward here with some of the reinforcing Marines and Marauders. Now there's a Viper out as well, though. Yeah, it's getting some energy here. Even just parasitic bombs would not be bad here against these clumped up medevacs. Alright. That hatchery on the left side of the map was remade in the middle of all of this. And we don't have a third command center, or sorry, a fourth command center or anything with this sort of style. So this is just straight 8 racks right here on 3 bases, which is for all intents and purposes an all-in, which is why I'm hammering so much on those upgrades. Those upgrades are absolutely pivotal for Terran to be able to attack with, and yeah, for getting the armory at the perfect moment to go straight into the 2-2 research. It is, I mean, I don't want to say a rookie mistake, but it definitely is a mistake that shouldn't be happening at the absolute highest level of StarCraft. So in order to go into the 2-2 and the 3-3 research, you need to have an armory. In order to have a 1-1 going, you just need the engineering base. So when 1-1 finishes, you need to have the armory done in order to start up 2-2 smoothly. But if you're, well, trying to start up 2-2 and then you see, hey, wait a second, I still need to make the armory, you effectively lose your timing window there by however long it takes for the armory to build, right? So now, yeah, what was previously an upgrade lead for the Terran is now turning into a very even scenario where Serral is double upgrading and Oliveira seems to have forgotten about his +3 infantry armor. There's still no fourth command center. So this pushover here is becoming do or die. Now, it is a very scary army. 134 army supply right here for the Terran versus 116 from the Zerg. Obviously, though, Zerg will have larva to very quickly reinforce this. Instead, though, what we're going to do is do a Lingbane counterattack. Slow down that economy some more. Is Oliveira going to pull the trigger? He is. He wants to move forward right now. He wants to win this series. He needs to go ahead and do so by, well, destroying these Zerg bases. Beautiful blinding clouds end up going down, shutting down a lot of that Terran army. The Zerg reinforcements, though, are a necessity, right? We have 60 lings on the production tab. Serral at this point out of, well, any larva, so he can't really reinforce this until the new Queen Injects pop off. Those engineering base for the Zerg, the Evo chambers, a little exposed, but the main base of the Terran is wide open. All that Serral needs to do right now is clean up all of these Terran units, but that is going to be a very tricky one. Do we have Banelings? Oh, we sure do. Banelings apparently were hiding off to the left side. Siege Tank once again tries to siege up, but while he's sieging, he ends up dying, and ultimately, Serral is just a little bit too dominant. The second game, I liked a lot better for Oliveira, but Serral overall just plays a little bit cleaner, a little bit better, and that's a theme in a lot of his games.